Princess Nira stood on the balcony of the Crystal Palace, watching the twin suns set over the city of Zerion. The sky was painted in shades of gold and violet, and the towers of the city sparkled like jewels. It was a time of celebration. The Festival of Light had begun, and the citizens of Zerion were filling the streets below, their laughter and songs echoing through the air. Nira, though dressed in ceremonial robes, felt restless. Something new was about to happen, though she did not know what. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft voice behind her. "Your Highness, the ambassador has arrived," said a court official. Nira turned. The official's face was calm, but his eyes held a hint of concern. "Bring him here," she said. "I wish to meet him at once." Moments later, a human appeared at the palace gates. Liam was unlike any being Nira had seen before. His body was ordinary, almost fragile-looking, with pale skin and dark hair that shone faintly in the light of the twin suns. His eyes, however, were sharp and bright. He looked around the city with quiet amazement, and when he saw Nira, he bowed politely. "Princess Nira," he said in a soft, respectful tone. "I am honored to be here." Nira studied him carefully. Humans were rare visitors to Zerion, and she had been warned that they were weak compared to her people. Yet there was something about him that made her pause. He did not seem afraid or small. Instead, he carried himself with calm confidence. She stepped closer and smiled. "Welcome to Zerion, Liam," she said. "I hope your journey from Earth was not difficult." Liam shook his head. "It was long, but I am grateful for the chance to meet your people." The palace staff led Liam through the halls, and Nira walked beside him. The walls of the palace were made of crystal, reflecting the colors of the suns, and soft music played from invisible instruments. Nira noticed the way Liam's eyes moved with curiosity. He did not seem overwhelmed by the beauty, yet he observed everything carefully, as if he were learning not just with his eyes but with his mind. As they reached the balcony overlooking the city, a group of children ran past, chasing glowing orbs of light that floated in the air. One orb broke away from the group and drifted toward the edge of the balcony. Without thinking, Liam reached out, catching it gently before it fell. Nira gasped. "You saved it," she said, surprised. Liam smiled. "It was only a small thing. I could not let it fall." Nira felt a strange warmth in her chest. This human, who seemed so ordinary, had a care for life that even her advanced city sometimes lacked. She nodded, her curiosity growing. That evening, the festival began. The streets of Zerion were alive with music, lights, and holographic displays. Nira led Liam through the celebrations. Citizens stopped to stare at the human ambassador, whispering among themselves. Some were curious, some skeptical. Nira could feel their tension. Humans were not considered strong, and many wondered why their princess would meet one so openly. As they walked, a small accident occurred. A hovering platform carrying food for the festival began to tilt dangerously. The servants panicked, unsure of how to save it. Without hesitation, Liam stepped forward. He moved with surprising speed and balance, steadying the platform with his hands. The food did not fall, and the crowd sighed in relief. Nira's eyes widened. She had not expected such quick thinking. She realized that although humans were physically weaker than her people, they could act with courage and intelligence in ways that were not always obvious. Liam turned to her and shrugged modestly. "It was nothing," he said simply. But to Nira, it was everything. As the night deepened, they reached the central plaza, where a massive fountain sparkled with light. Nira and Liam stood side by side watching the display. The fountains danced with water and light, forming shapes of stars and strange creatures. Nira noticed how Liam's presence seemed to calm the crowd. Even the robotic guardians, who usually moved with precise authority, slowed their motions and observed him quietly. "What is it about this place?" Liam asked softly. "It is beautiful yet peaceful." Nira looked at him. "It is the heart of Zerion. The city shows strength and harmony together. But you carry a calm that is different. I do not understand it yet." Liam laughed lightly, a sound that was gentle and full of warmth. "Perhaps it is nothing special. Humans have a way of noticing small things. We cannot do great feats with strength, but we try to do what is right." Nira thought about his words. She had met many beings from other planets, and most impressed her with their power or knowledge. Liam impressed her with something simpler yet stronger. She felt a pull toward him, not of romance yet, but of fascination and respect. The next morning, Nira invited Liam to see the palace gardens. They floated high above the city, connected by bridges of light and surrounded by glowing plants. As they walked, Liam paused to touch a plant that had a soft, luminescent glow. The plant bent slightly toward him, and Nira noticed that it seemed to respond to his presence. "That is strange," she whispered. "The plants usually do not move unless we guide them." Liam looked at her and smiled faintly. "I do not know why. Perhaps they like light, or perhaps it is just a small gesture." Nira was not convinced. There was something unusual about him, something she could not explain. She wanted to know more, yet she also felt a sense of caution. Humans were rare and their abilities were mysterious. As they continued, a messenger arrived with urgent news. A minor dispute had broken out between two districts of the city. Nira was concerned, and she prepared to intervene with her advisors. But before she could act, Liam spoke a few calm words to the messenger. His voice was soft, yet every word seemed to carry authority. Within moments, the tension between the districts eased. The citizens looked at him in surprise. Nira felt a mixture of awe and confusion. She had seen powerful leaders, skilled warriors, and wise diplomats. But Liam, a human, had solved a conflict with nothing but his words and presence. When the day ended, Nira and Liam returned to the palace. Nira watched him as he rested, still amazed by what she had seen. She had expected a fragile, harmless human. Instead, she had found someone who could inspire, calm, and influence without force. For the first time in her life, Nira wondered what it would mean to have a human by her side. Not just as a guest, not just as an ambassador, but as someone who might change everything she knew about strength, courage, and leadership. And as she looked at Liam sleeping quietly under the twin sun's fading light, she did not yet know the full truth. She did not know that his presence would reach beyond Zerion, that his actions would be noticed by powers far greater than her city, or that the gods themselves would one day bow before him. Tonight, in the glow of the Crystal Palace, a human had arrived in the heart of an alien world, and unknowingly, Princess Nira's life and perhaps the fate of the galaxy was about to change forever. The morning sun rose over Zerion, bathing the crystal city in soft gold and silver light. Princess Nira stood in the palace gardens waiting for Liam. She was eager to see him again. The festival had ended, but the city was still alive with energy. Citizens walked through the streets, smiling and sharing stories about the human ambassador who had calmed a dispute the day before. When Liam arrived, Nira noticed something new in his presence. He moved with the same calm confidence, but today there seemed to be an energy around him. Small creatures in the garden, glowing insects and birds with shimmering wings, approached him without fear. They gathered near his feet, chirping and humming as if welcoming him. Nira raised an eyebrow. "Do you notice this too?" she asked quietly. Liam looked down at the creatures. "It is strange. They seem drawn to me. I do not know why." Nira frowned, trying to understand. The people of Zerion were advanced, but they had never seen humans interact with nature in this way. "It is more than strange," she said. "It is unusual. Perhaps it is a gift you do not know you have." Liam shook his head. "I am only a human. I do not think I have a gift. I only try to do what is right." Nira was not convinced. The human ambassador had already impressed her with his courage and wisdom, and now even the animals responded to him. She felt a mix of admiration and curiosity. She decided to show him more of the city, hoping to learn more about this mysterious human. They walked along the floating bridges that connected the gardens. The bridges shimmered in the sunlight, and below them, the city stretched out in waves of crystal towers and glowing streets. Nira pointed to a group of robotic guardians patrolling nearby. "See them?" she said. "They are loyal and strong. They follow my orders without hesitation. But even they hesitate in your presence." Liam followed her gaze. He could see the guardians pausing, their movements slightly slower than usual. "I do not understand," he said. "I am just a visitor." "Why would they hesitate?" "Perhaps there is something about you that commands respect," Nira said softly. "Something I do not yet understand." They continued walking, and the conversation turned to more personal matters. Nira asked Liam about his home planet Earth. He spoke of oceans, forests, mountains, and skies filled with clouds. Nira listened with wonder. She had seen many worlds through the eyes of explorers, but Liam described them with a warmth and love that made her feel she was standing on Earth herself. As they spoke, A sudden alarm rang through the city. A group of traders had become trapped when a transport bridge malfunctioned. People were stranded high above the city, clinging to the edges as the bridge swayed dangerously. Nira immediately prepared to summon her guards, but Liam stepped forward calmly. "Let me try," he said. Nira hesitated, but then nodded. Liam approached the trapped traders. He spoke to them quietly, and as he did, the bridge itself seemed to stabilize. The movement slowed, and the travelers were able to step safely back onto solid ground. Nira's jaw dropped. "How did you do that?" she asked in disbelief. Liam shook his head. "I do not know. I only asked them to be calm." The bridge, it seemed to respond. Nira realized that what she had thought was simple human kindness might be something far greater. Liam's presence affected not just people, but the world around him. She began to wonder what other secrets this human might hold. The day passed with more unusual events. Plants bent toward Liam as he walked by, and small robots meant to clean and organize stopped and waited for his instructions. Even the guards, who had trained for years to follow orders without question, seemed to sense his authority. Nira watched everything carefully, her mind filled with questions. That evening, they visited the city's Hall of Knowledge, a massive library containing records of Zarian's history, science, and art. Nira guided Liam through the hall, showing him holographic maps and ancient texts. Liam listened, asked questions, and offered ideas that were simple but insightful. Nira was impressed. His way of thinking was different from her people's highly technical approach. He saw patterns and solutions that were easy to overlook, and he explained them with clarity and patience. A scholar approached them, curious about the human ambassador. "Princess," the scholar said, "he is impressive. But can he truly understand the ways of Zarian? Our knowledge is vast, and humans are limited." Nira looked at Liam. "I do not think he is limited," she said firmly. "He sees the world in a way that even we sometimes cannot. That is not weakness. That is strength." The scholar looked skeptical, but Nira's words carried authority. Liam smiled quietly, not proud, but pleased that Nira trusted him. Later, Nira and Liam returned to the gardens. Night had fallen, and the floating lights of the city reflected in the waters below. Nira asked Liam about his feelings. "Do you feel powerful here?" she asked. Liam shook his head. "No, I feel ordinary. I only try to act with respect and honesty. If that is power, then it is not something I control." Nira watched him silently. She understood his meaning, but she also saw something beyond his words. There was a presence in Liam that drew others, calmed them, and inspired trust. It was a quiet strength, unlike anything she had seen before. As they walked, a messenger arrived with urgent news. A disturbance had been detected at the edge of the city. A group of alien travelers had become trapped by a sudden storm, and they could not escape. Nira was about to summon her fastest ships when Liam spoke. "Let me try," he said again. Nira hesitated, then nodded. Liam moved toward the edge of the city, standing calmly in the rising winds. The storm seemed to pause around him. The travelers, who had been frightened and confused, followed his guidance and found safety. The citizens who witnessed the event gasped. Nira felt a deep admiration for Liam. She realized that the human she had thought was fragile and harmless was capable of extraordinary deeds. He did not rely on weapons or technology, only on his courage, presence, and understanding. That night, Nira could not sleep. She walked through the palace halls thinking about the human ambassador. Liam had changed her perception of strength and leadership. He had shown her that true power did not always come from force or skill. It came from empathy, wisdom, and the ability to inspire others. In the quiet of the palace, Nira made a decision. She would learn more about Liam, not only as a guest, but as someone who might play an important role in the future of Zarian. She felt a mixture of excitement and caution. Humans were rare and mysterious, and Liam was unlike any she had met before. As she looked out at the city, Nira realized that change was coming. The Festival of Light had introduced a new energy into Zarian, an energy that came not from technology or magic, but from a human heart. Liam's presence was shifting the city, the citizens, and even the very balance of life itself. Nira did not yet know the full extent of his power, but she could feel it. It was quiet, subtle, and unlike anything her people had ever experienced. And in the days to come, she would see it grow in ways that would challenge everything she knew about strength, leadership, and the universe. For now, She walked beside Liam in the gardens under the stars, feeling a mixture of wonder and anticipation. The human ambassador was ordinary in appearance, but extraordinary in ways she could not yet explain. And Princess Nira understood that her life, and perhaps the future of Zerion, would never be the same again. The sky above Zerion shimmered with colors that only appeared during rare cosmic alignments. Princess Nira stood at the top of the crystal tower, her eyes scanning the horizon. Today was a sacred day, one of the oldest traditions of her people. The pantheon of Zerion, the gods who had guided the city for centuries, would descend to observe the ceremony in the floating gardens. Liam walked beside her, his presence calm as ever. Though he was human, fragile in appearance, Nira had learned that he was anything but ordinary. Every day his actions revealed new qualities that her people had never seen before. Even the simplest gestures seemed to carry weight and meaning, touching both people and nature around him. As they entered the gardens, Nira noticed the citizens gathering in anticipation. The air was filled with music, but not the kind that came from instruments alone. It carried a resonance that seemed to respond to thoughts and feelings, a living harmony created by the energy of the gods. Liam looked around with quiet awe. "It is more beautiful than I imagined," he said. "I have never seen anything like it," Nira smiled. "It is the heart of our faith and our power. Today the gods themselves will judge the intentions of those who walk among us." As the ceremony began, the clouds above the floating gardens parted. Beams of radiant light shot downward, revealing figures descending gracefully from the sky. The gods of Zerion, beings of immense power and luminous forms, landed on the platforms prepared for them. Their presence made the ground vibrate with energy. The crowd fell silent. Even the guardians and scholars, trained for centuries to witness the divine, bowed instinctively. Nira felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She had seen the gods many times, but never had a human stood among them during such a sacred event. The leader of the pantheon, a towering figure with eyes like molten crystal, stepped forward. His gaze swept across the crowd before settling on Liam. Every head in the floating gardens turned toward him, waiting. Nira held her breath. She had expected curiosity, perhaps skepticism. What she did not expect was what happened next. The god knelt. Not slightly, not as a gesture of respect for a visitor, but fully, bending so that even his shining head touched the platform. The crowd gasped. Other gods followed, bowing before Liam in unison. Nira's eyes widened. "Liam, do you see this?" she whispered. He looked around, confused. I do not understand. Why would they bow?" Nira shook her head, her thoughts racing. This was beyond anything she had ever witnessed. No human, no matter how skilled or clever, had ever caused even a single god to bow. And here, all of the pantheon acknowledged him without question. The leader of the gods spoke, his voice resonating through the gardens and beyond. "Human of Earth, your presence carries harmony. Your actions reflect balance, wisdom, and courage. We recognize your spirit as one that aligns with the laws of the universe." Liam's face flushed. He was still ordinary to himself. He had only tried to act with honesty, fairness, and understanding. He had not expected gods to respond, nor had he sought recognition. Nira looked at him with awe. This is incredible. You have touched something in them." Liam shook his head quietly. "I did not do anything. I only acted as I thought was right." But Nira knew it was more than that. She had watched him over the past days, seen how his presence inspired calm in a storm, bravery in fear, and trust among strangers. Humans were small in appearance, yet their hearts could carry extraordinary weight. Liam's heart had just revealed its power in the most visible way. The gods returned to their observation positions, hovering above the crowd. Yet even from this distance, their attention remained on Liam. They whispered among themselves in voices that sounded like wind over crystal towers, their tones filled with curiosity and respect. Nira noticed that the usual tension and aloofness of the gods were replaced with fascination. Scholars and citizens who had gathered for the ceremony whispered among themselves. "How is it possible?" one said. "A human. The gods bow before him." Another shook their head. "He is not a warrior, nor a scientist of Zerion. What power does he have?" Nira stepped forward, raising her voice so that the whispers quieted. "He is not here because of strength or knowledge alone. He is here because of what he carries inside: courage, compassion, and wisdom. That is a kind of power even the gods respect." The crowd fell silent, considering her words. Even the scholars who prided themselves on logic and reason could not explain the phenomenon. Humans had been visitors before, but never had one affected both people and gods so profoundly. The ceremony continued, with rituals meant to test intentions and character. Each participant performed their role flawlessly, yet Liam's presence subtly altered the environment. Plants in the gardens leaned slightly toward him. Holographic displays shimmered brighter as he passed. Even the guardians moved with an ease that suggested cooperation, not command. When it came time for the final test, a challenge of intellect and strategy, Nira noticed that the gods watched Liam closely. The challenge was simple for Zarian citizens: solve a puzzle that required the coordination of thought, technology, and intuition. Yet when Liam approached, the solution appeared obvious to everyone. He did not manipulate the system with skill alone. He suggested small adjustments, intuitive choices that drew the best from others and revealed the answer with ease. The gods nodded in approval. Their energy resonated through the gardens like a soft hum, acknowledging his insight. Nira felt a sense of pride and wonder. Liam, whom she had thought fragile, had demonstrated a harmony between human simplicity and universal understanding that even the gods recognized. After the ceremony, Nira walked beside Liam as they left the gardens. He was quiet, as if reflecting on the events. "Do you understand what just happened?" she asked. Liam shook his head. "I think I do not. I only tried to act as I thought was right." "But the gods," they bowed. "That is more than I could ever expect." Nira took his hand. "You have changed everything here, Liam. You have shown that strength is not only in power or skill. You have shown that wisdom, kindness, and courage carry weight even the gods cannot ignore." He looked at her, his expression a mixture of humility and thoughtfulness. "I do not feel powerful. I only feel responsible. If this is true, then I must be careful. I must use it well." Nira nodded, understanding his meaning. Humans were small in appearance, but their hearts and choices could influence the fate of worlds. She realized that Liam's arrival was no accident. There was a reason the gods had noticed him, and she suspected it was only the beginning. Over the next few days, Liam continued to interact with Zarian citizens. Wherever he went, subtle changes followed. Disputes resolved without conflict. Animals and plants responded to his presence. Even the gods watching from above whispered among themselves in tones of admiration. Nira observed it all, both fascinated and cautious. One evening, as they walked through the palace gardens under the light of the twin moons, Nira spoke her thoughts aloud. "You have changed the city, Liam. You have made the gods notice you, and yet, you do not even know it." Liam looked at her, his eyes reflecting the moonlight. "I only know that I must act as I always have. If I have influence, it is not to take, but to guide. I cannot let it corrupt me or make me arrogant." Nira felt a deep respect for him. Few beings, mortal or divine, would maintain such humility in the face of power. She realized that Liam's strength was not visible in weapons or technology. It was in his heart, in the way he inspired others and in the way he acted without fear or selfishness. The gods, too, were beginning to understand. They observed, they whispered, and they learned. Liam had shown them that power did not always come from force. True influence came from the choices one made and the heart one carried. As the twin moons set over Zarion, Nira realized that the city, her people, and even the universe were on the brink of change. Liam was no ordinary human. He was a force that could unite, inspire, and challenge even the oldest powers in existence. And Nira knew that the events of this ceremony were only the beginning. The gods had bowed, but there were challenges ahead. Forces that would test the human ambassador in ways she could not yet imagine. Yet she also knew one truth. With Liam at her side, Zarian had a chance to face the future stronger, wiser and united like never before. Tonight, in the quiet of the Crystal Palace, Nira understood that the ordinary human she had first met was extraordinary in ways that no one had foreseen. And in the days to come, the galaxy itself would begin to take notice. Days had passed since the gods had bowed before Liam, and Zarian was still buzzing with whispers and curiosity. Princess Nira watched the city carefully, sensing a tension that had not been there before. The citizens admired the human ambassador, but some were uneasy. Humans were small, fragile, and untested in true battle. Could someone like Liam truly protect them if danger came? Her thoughts were interrupted by an alarm from the city's outer sensors. A dark energy had been detected at the edge of the galaxy. It moved quickly, consuming light and life as it advanced. The elders called it an ancient entity, older than the stars, seeking to enslave civilizations and disrupt the harmony of the cosmos. Nira's heart sank. She had faced challenges before, but none like this. Zarian's armies were strong, her technology unmatched, and yet the sheer scale of the threat was terrifying. She turned to Liam, who had been observing quietly. "What do you think we should do?" she asked. Liam looked toward the horizon where the darkness grew like a living shadow. "We must understand it first. Fear will not help us. Strength comes from unity, not panic." Nira nodded, but she could see worry in the eyes of her advisors. They had not forgotten that Liam was human, and humans were considered weak compared to the alien forces of Zarian. Yet his calm presence inspired them, and slowly the tension in the council hall eased. The next day, scouts confirmed the entity's approach. Its size was enormous, stretching across millions of kilometers, and it radiated a power that disrupted Zarian's sensors and shields. Nira called a council of leaders, and the gods themselves hovered nearby, observing silently. "We face an enemy unlike any before," Nira said firmly. "Its power can destroy our fleets, our cities, and even our gods if we are not careful." One elder spoke. "We can fight, Princess, but its energy is beyond anything we know." "We may not survive," Liam stepped forward. "Then we do not fight alone. We must act together, humans, aliens, and even the gods. Strength is not only in weapons or shields. It is in cooperation, understanding, and courage. If we work as one, we can turn this threat back." The council was silent for a moment, considering his words. Then a murmur of agreement rose. Liam's presence had already influenced the city in subtle ways. Now it was clear that his influence could inspire unity in the face of danger. Preparations began. Zarian's armies readied their ships and weapons. The gods positioned themselves to observe and guide, but none interfered directly. Nira assigned Liam to coordinate the human and alien fleets together, despite protests from some generals. They did not trust a human to lead such a critical mission. But Nira stood firm. "He will lead," she said. "His vision is what we need. We cannot win with strength alone." Liam worked tirelessly, speaking to pilots, soldiers, and commanders. He listened to their concerns and fears, then offered solutions that were simple yet effective. He showed them how to move in patterns that maximized their strengths and minimized risk. His calm confidence inspired confidence in others. Even the gods who hovered in the sky observed with interest as humans and aliens began to cooperate like never before. As the entity approached, the sky darkened. Waves of shadow moved across the galaxy, consuming stars and light. Zarian's fleets formed a barrier, but even their most powerful weapons seemed to barely affect the entity. Nira watched from the command platform, her heart pounding. This was a battle unlike any before, and yet Liam remained calm. He stood at the center of the platform, hands resting lightly on the controls, but his influence extended beyond technology. Soldiers reported feeling steady, confident, and alert just by being near him. Even the alien commanders who had doubted him now followed his instructions without question. The battle began in earnest. Energy beams collided with the darkness, lighting up the void. Ships maneuvered according to Liam's guidance, forming patterns that disrupted the entity's advance. Yet it adapted quickly. Shadows stretched and lashed out, consuming smaller ships with ease. Nira feared that even their unity might not be enough. Liam's voice rang out clearly across the battlefield. "Do not fear the shadows. Focus on what you can control. Together, we are stronger than it realizes." His words, though simple, carried an unexpected power. Pilots who had panicked regained control. Soldiers who had been frozen in fear acted decisively. The entity, sensing their unity and calm, hesitated. Nira realized that Liam's true power was not in strength or weapons. It was in his ability to inspire, guide, and unite. The darkness could destroy ships, but it could not break hearts that were determined, fearless, and coordinated. The gods, who had watched silently, finally intervened in a subtle way. They aligned their energy with Liam's, amplifying the harmony of his commands without directly using their power to attack. The effect was profound. The entity's movements became slower, less certain. Shadows retracted as the combined fleets pressed forward, striking at weak points Liam had identified. In the midst of battle, Nira noticed Liam moving among the commanders, offering guidance and reassurance. He did not fight with weapons or shields, yet his presence turned the tide. Even the alien generals who had doubted him before now praised his insight. Finally, the entity faltered. Its dark energy began to shrink and break apart. The fleets pressed their advantage, and with one final coordinated strike, the shadow dissipated into nothingness. The galaxy seemed to breathe again. Stars, once swallowed by darkness, returned to their places, shining brightly. Nira approached Liam, her eyes filled with awe. "You did it," she said. "You saved Zarian, the fleets, and perhaps the entire galaxy." Liam shook his head, humble as ever. "We did it. Everyone played their part. I only guided them. The courage and skill were theirs, not mine." The gods descended briefly to acknowledge the victory. Their luminous forms shimmered in the light of the restored stars. The leader of the pantheon looked at Liam with deep respect. "Human of Earth, your guidance has proven your wisdom and courage. You have shown that even the smallest beings can influence the greatest of powers." Nira smiled, tears in her eyes. She had seen his strength not in battle but in heart, mind, and spirit. The human she had first thought harmless was now a hero to Zarion, a leader to fleets, and a force recognized by the gods themselves. The citizens of Zarion celebrated their victory, praising Liam and Princess Nira. Yet Nira knew the journey was far from over. The darkness had tested them, but new challenges would come. The universe was vast and threats would not wait. But for the first time, she felt certain that with Liam by her side, Zarion and perhaps all worlds could face the future with courage, wisdom, and unity. That night, Nira and Liam stood on the balcony of the palace looking at the stars. The city was calm, but the energy of the recent battle still lingered. Nira turned to Liam. "You were extraordinary today," she said softly. "Not because of strength, but because of who you are." Liam smiled quietly. "I only did what I thought was right. If that inspired others, then I am grateful. But the real strength is in all of you. You believed, followed, and acted together. That is what won the day." Nira felt a deep admiration for him. His humility, wisdom, and courage were rare even among gods and her own people. She realized that humans, though small and fragile, carried a power beyond physical strength. Liam had proven that heart and mind could surpass technology, strategy, and even divine might. The stars above Zarion sparkled brighter than ever, reflecting the unity of all who had fought. Nira understood that this was only the beginning. Liam's presence would continue to change her city, her people, and the universe in ways that were unimaginable. For now, she allowed herself a quiet moment of relief and gratitude. The darkness had been overcome and the city stood strong. The human ambassador, once thought harmless, had proven that courage, wisdom, and heart could shape the fate of worlds. And Princess Nira knew that the final chapter of this story was still ahead. A chapter where humans, aliens, and gods would walk together toward a future full of challenges, discoveries, and hope. The days after the battle were quiet, but Zarion was changed forever. The citizens walked through the crystal streets with a renewed sense of hope. Liam, the human ambassador, had proven himself not just to the city but to the gods themselves. His actions had inspired unity, courage, and trust among beings of many worlds. Princess Nira stood on the balcony of the palace overlooking the city. She remembered the first time she had met Liam, thinking him fragile and harmless, how little she had known. Now she understood that true strength came from heart, wisdom, and courage, qualities that no technology or weapon could match. Liam joined her, his calm presence grounding her thoughts. "The city feels different," he said quietly. "There is a light here that was not here before." Nira smiled. "You brought it, Liam. Not with force, but with who you are. You changed the way we see the world." As they spoke, a message arrived from neighboring star systems. Leaders of distant civilizations, inspired by the news of Zarion's victory, had begun to seek alliances. They wanted to learn from Liam, to understand how a human could unite beings so different from each other. Nira realized that this was the beginning of a new era, one where cooperation between species could create harmony across the galaxy. The gods descended once more, this time to meet with Liam personally. Their luminous forms hovered above the palace gardens, their presence gentle yet commanding. The leader of the pantheon spoke first. "Human of Earth, your actions have shown us a truth we have long ignored. Strength is not measured by power alone, but by courage, wisdom, and the ability to inspire others. You have united beings of many worlds and shown that even mortals can influence the fate of the cosmos. Liam bowed respectfully. I am honored. I only tried to do what I thought was right. I never imagined such recognition. The gods nodded. Recognition is not what matters. It is the choice you make, the guidance you offer, and the hope you inspire. You are a symbol of what humanity can bring to the universe. Nira watched as Liam spoke with the gods. She realized that humans, though physically small, carried a unique energy. It was not visible like alien technology or divine power, yet it was powerful enough to shape the cosmos. She felt proud, not only of Liam but of what humanity represented. In the weeks that followed, Liam traveled through Zerion, meeting with citizens, soldiers, and scholars. Everywhere he went, he inspired confidence and cooperation. Disputes were resolved peacefully. Projects that had been stalled for years were completed. Even the youngest citizens looked up to him as a guide, learning from his calm presence and simple wisdom. Nira accompanied him often, observing how he connected with others. She noticed that his strength was not in commanding but in listening, understanding, and encouraging. People followed him because they trusted him, not because they feared him. And the gods, who had once been distant and aloof, now seemed to learn from his example, observing how mortals could act with integrity and compassion. One day, as they walked through the restored gardens, Nira spoke quietly. Liam, do you realize what you have done? You have not only saved Zerion, but you have also shown the galaxy that humans can stand alongside gods and aliens as equals. Liam looked at her, thoughtful. I do not feel like a hero. I feel grateful. Grateful that others trusted me and that we could work together. The real heroes are all of us. The citizens, the soldiers, and even you, Nira. You gave me the chance to guide, not control. Nira smiled, feeling a deep connection with him. She realized that their bond had grown stronger, built not on power or status, but on respect, trust, and shared purpose. She felt that together they could face anything the galaxy might bring. The gods, seeing the harmony between humans and aliens, began to speak openly about cooperation. They offered knowledge, guidance, and insight to all who sought it, creating a council where beings of many worlds could meet and discuss the future together. Zerion became the center of this new alliance, with Liam as a bridge between humans and other civilizations. A festival was held to celebrate this new era. The city was alive with music, light, and laughter. Citizens danced in the streets, young and old alike. Nira and Liam stood on the balcony watching the celebration below. You have changed everything, Nira said. Not with force, not with weapons, but with your heart. Liam shook his head. It was never just me. It was all of us working together. That is the real power. Even the gods joined the celebration, descending to mingle with the people in forms they had never shown before. Their presence was no longer distant or intimidating. Instead, they laughed, spoke, and learned from the mortals, bridging the gap between divine and human understanding. As the festival continued, Nira and Liam walked through the gardens in quiet reflection. The lights of the city shimmered like stars, and the air was filled with the scent of glowing flowers. Nira took Liam's hand, feeling the warmth and strength in his presence. You have given Zerion hope, she said. You have shown us that courage, kindness, and wisdom are the greatest forces in the universe. Liam smiled, his eyes reflecting the lights around them. I only did what I thought was right. But if it brings hope, then I am glad. The night ended with a grand display of lights and energy. Stars above the city shone brighter, as if reflecting the harmony that now existed below. The citizens cheered, the gods bowed in acknowledgement, and Nira felt a sense of peace she had never known before. In the days that followed, Liam continued to guide and inspire, but he also learned. He learned about alien cultures, their history, their hopes, and their fears. He saw the galaxy not as a collection of isolated worlds, but as a living, breathing network of life, each species contributing to the whole. Nira remained by his side, sharing her knowledge and learning from his perspective. Together they worked to ensure that Zerion remained a place of cooperation, knowledge, and understanding. The city became a model for other civilizations, showing that even the smallest beings could shape the future with courage, heart, and wisdom. One morning, as the twin suns rose over the city, Nira and Liam stood on the balcony, looking toward the horizon. Ships from other worlds had begun to arrive, seeking guidance and partnership. The galaxy was awakening to a new era, one where humans, aliens, and gods could work together for peace and prosperity. You have changed the galaxy, Liam, Nira said softly. He looked at her calm and humble. I only helped others see what they already had inside them. The courage, the wisdom, the heart, it was always there. I just reminded them. Nira smiled, feeling a deep admiration and love for him. She realized that the human she had once thought harmless was now the symbol of hope and unity across the stars. Together they had proven that strength came not from power alone, but from heart, mind, and courage. As the day began, the city of Zerion shone brighter than ever. Its crystal towers reflected the light of the suns, the stars, and the hope that now flowed through every citizen. The gods, once distant observers, now walked among mortals, learning and sharing in harmony. And Liam, the human who had seemed so ordinary, stood at the center of it all, a bridge between worlds, a symbol of courage, and a reminder that even the smallest beings could shape the destiny of the universe. Princess Nira took Liam's hand, feeling a sense of completeness and purpose. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but together they would face the future with wisdom, courage, and unity. Humans and aliens, gods and mortals would walk side by side, building a galaxy where hope and harmony reigned. And so, the story of the human ambassador and the alien princess reached its peak. Liam had arrived as a stranger, fragile and harmless in appearance. Yet he had inspired gods, united civilizations, and brought a new light to the galaxy. Princess Nira had learned that strength was not only measured in power, but in heart, courage, and the ability to inspire others. The universe, once uncertain and divided, now looked toward a future of unity, peace, and understanding. And Liam, the human who had once seemed ordinary, had become extraordinary in every sense. The twin suns rose higher, casting a golden glow over Zerion. The city, its people, and the cosmos beyond shone with a brilliance born not of technology or magic, but of courage, heart, and wisdom. The era of harmony had begun,